So, good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Helene. I'm the Executive Director with the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, and I love these presentations. You can hear it in my voice. We're so honored, proud, and appreciative of the opportunity to bring and collaborate business leaders that are known for their expertise in sales, marketing, and branding to bring their information to everyone. And that's the reason why we put on these complimentary webinars. The Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, representing 30,000 different business and civic leaders, our mantra, our goal, our mission is to grow your business. And this is how we are going to start it off in 2024. So we have two presentations going on, one from 10 to 10:30 and one from 10:30 to 11. So you want to stay on, even though we're going to transition at 10:30. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Bianca and Nick. They are the co-founders of Unicorn Roar, and they have a great sales and marketing presentation for you on behalf of the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. We have a chat going on. Put your information in the chat. They will do a Q&A at the end of their presentation. So just be, real patient. This is being recorded. It will be on Chamber TV. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Bianca and Nick. Thank you so much for doing this. We so appreciate this. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Helena. And good morning, everyone. We are thrilled to be here with you to share some of our expertise. So we are Unicorn Roar. We are a sales and marketing consultancy. We really focus on the sales side of the sales and marketing consultancy because it's our belief that without a strong sales foundation, it's really difficult to build a good business and grow your marketing. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to focus on that sales side. And we do this through the lens of our mission, which is to get your customers, your clients, to see and believe in you and your brand and your company the way you see and believe in yourself. So I didn't do this alone. This is a new venture, but Nick is my partner, and we'll share a little bit about ourselves and our background before jumping in. So meet Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick. That's my dog, Steven. Bianca and I met when she was a salesperson for Twitch, and I was working with Pepsi. But what was really interesting about that relationship is the timing of it. So when Bianca explained it to me and the value of that audience and why we should be on board, I was on board, but the hard part was definitely ahead of us.
Indeed. And by the hard part, he means making difficult things easy to understand. And that's essentially what we've built our careers on. We did start when I was at Twitch and Nick was at Pepsi, like he said, but that was back in 2014. And if you think about that, almost 10 years ago, Twitch is a live streaming video gaming platform. In that time, live streaming video games was pretty much seen as something only weirdos do in their parents' basement. So imagine me selling this as this like huge opportunity, Pepsi going, what is this, right? How do you make a big brand see the opportunity, speak to the audience, sell it through? Nick clearly understood this value, so we hit it off. And we've continued to build now essentially a business on that foundation of making difficult things easy to understand. And that's what we're gonna walk through a little bit more today. You'll notice that we've done this for a number of brands. And when you look at this slide, these are the folks that we've made customers care about. And when you look at this, one of the immediate takeaways might be, but I'm a small company and these are all huge brands. We have absolutely nothing in common. That's not the case at all. You have way more in common than you think you are. A sales challenge is a sales challenge, whether you're a small business or a huge business. The only difference is scale and scope. These large companies have to stay relevant amidst other competitors coming into the market, and they also have to launch new products and communicate that. That's exactly what you do as a small company. So there's absolutely no difference but scale and scope. So we're going to walk with through the techniques that we've used on these big companies to help them make them successful. And we'll start at the beginning with sales.
So yeah, our relationship was seller to marketer. But what actually happened was I really came to rely on Bianca, and that is because sales is foundational. Like we like to say, without it, you don't have much of a company, you've got an idea. So what's the difference between the two? Really, it comes down to targeting, approach, and messaging. So with sales, you really have to cater to a one-to-one relationship, and your message has to be blunt in doing so. So you have to really tell it like it is. Marketing, conversely, is more about creating an emotional relationship with a group of many people at one time. So they're both focused on selling, but really we view, like Bianca said, sales as the foundation, because without that, yeah, you've just got an idea. So you're going to hear us say it over and over again. Sales is foundational. When you're able to break through, it scales your vision from concept to company. So sales is laid out on the left side, and that's really where we're going to focus today. Because basically, once you've made your first sale, you've ignited your first marketing campaign via word of mouth. So what does that look like, right? What does being a good seller look like? Well, if you Google it, great resources like HubSpot's a great tool. We're not here to disrespect them, certainly. But when we started doing research for this, we saw that they put together a list of, the top traits of a great seller. And respectfully, all of these are great. It's not bad advice, but they've described a golden retriever, not a salesperson. So if you're just kind of doing these things, you can be super approachable, you can be super likable and all that, but you're going to get body slammed if you don't do it correctly. So yeah, this is sort of the moral equivalent and the sales equivalent of, work hard and you'll go far. You need to know how to work hard. You need to know what to work hard on, and really kind of focus your vision in order to be successful.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to share with you what you really need to do to close a sale. And let's jump right in. The very first thing you need to do is guide people. You have to look at your role in this relationship. You are a guide. There's a ton of information out there. There's a lot of data. People don't need more of it, and they don't want more of it. What they need is analysis. They need someone to help them sort through what they're looking at, somebody to help them make sense of the context and the nuance. They don't need more data. When you're able to do this, when you're able to help someone guide through it, you start building all of the relationships, all of the techniques rather, that we'll talk about in the coming slides that help you actually close the deal. But the first step is to act as a guide. And what I mean here is don't blow it by trying to sell. By the time someone comes to you, they are ready to take an action. They've done some research. They know they want the thing. They want you to hold their hand and help them navigate the landscape. I'm going to say it again. Don't blow it. Like, you have the opportunity, you have the in. Help them make sense and sort through and navigate a process. Be the expert they want you to be. When you do that, or the best way to help you do that, is to be prepared. Here we go. You have to be prepared. You have to do your homework. I like to think of being prepared as going to dinner with a friend, right? Or with a group of friends. You don't just poof, magically show up at a restaurant. Like, that's not how it works, right? You figure out where you want to go. There's some consensus. You make a reservation. You figure out what you're going to wear. You figure out how to get there. You have some topics that you want to talk about, and you do that, right? Like, that's how a dinner happens. Work is exactly the same thing. Business is exactly the same thing. You have to prepare. You should come to every conversation and every meeting with some curiosity and a point of view. So what do we mean by that? We mean Google. Use the tools at your disposal to learn information. Do some basic research on the company. Go on LinkedIn, figure out who you're talking to, what you're talking about. Like, have an idea, have like a shape to what you want to share with the customer. So when you're able to do that, when you come prepared, you already have things to talk about. You feel confident. You can navigate the conversation where you think it should go if you have some questions, and you genuinely won't feel thrown off should the client throw a curveball at you because you're prepared. You've done your homework, you have a point of view, and you've demonstrated that you are serious about being a partner and working with this customer. So that's all about showing that you're a guide and being serious about it, not just winging it. Do not ever wing it, please. No. And once you get there, once you have a conversation, you have to listen. Like I said, when you're a guide, they're already there. They're at the door. They want some help. Now let them help. Let them tell you. And that means that you literally have to hush. You have to zip it. Like, and if I have to be more explicit, you have to shut up. Like, stop talking. Let your customers talk. I assure you, they will tell you everything if you let them. Now, naturally, you have to do your part, and this is where being prepared comes in, right? So you have to have some questions, you have to have a point of view, you have to guide a little bit. But once they start talking, let them talk. This will allow you to discover a number of things, including the question behind the question. Sometimes that little tricky thing that nobody wants to surface, or they're a little uncomfortable. They don't even know that it's a question behind the question. If you listen, you can find that nuance, find that like, something's off a little bit. We might want to double click in here and figure it out. It also lets you identify the problems, the larger problems that might be fueling the issues they have here, and you can focus on those. You'll also identify who the key players are behind the background that might help you or not help you in your journey. So all of this only happens if you let your customers tell you, and I assure you they will tell you everything. Now you have a lot more to work with when coming up with a solution for them. So make them feel heard by you talking less, by actively listening. One of the most critical things you'll also do, and you have to do all of these steps together. It's not just one or the other, it's all of them. And you find that once you start doing one, the other pieces kind of fall into place. One of the biggest pieces is organizing people. Don't ever underestimate the power of organizing someone. Like, I love this little image that we use here of the scramble in someone's head on the left. Like, that's sometimes literally, right? You'll have a client and it's like, my client sounds and looks like that. It's like, they're all over the place. They're just not organized. So if you take the time to organize someone, you're really helping them, right, get clear. You're helping them identify the solution, think clearly about it, and then see themselves and you in the solution. So a lot of times they just don't even realize that they're an internal mess. So what are some of the ways that you can organize someone? Agendas are like a secret weapon. It's so simple. Use an agenda. You outline the conversation and make sure you share the agenda. Like, an agenda should be a shared document. It should be a conversation back and forth, not just one party or the other, both parties coming together. Share it so everybody has an expectation of what's going to be discussed. Use Google Sheets to organize people, like literally help them along. You can track conversations and documents. It's also massively powerful if you have a client that loves to change their mind. You can kind of track it and get buy-in and have clarity and context along the way. It really eliminates that problem fairly quickly. One of the other things I find super powerful when it comes to organizing someone and advancing a conversation is if you pick up on a little bit of like hesitancy, go first. Like, go first with an idea. I'll give you an example. This is something I used to do all the time when I worked with creative agencies. And it's shocking, like some of the world's largest creative agencies, you have these super talented creative directors in a room, and they're human, so they clench up, they get nervous when it's time to share an idea. So one of the things I would always do is go first. Like, my idea was going to suck, candidly. There's no way I'm going to come up with something better than the creatives. But by going first and knowing that, like, their idea was better, like, clearly, all right, we've got something more. It made everybody comfortable and allowed folks to share their ideas. But I was only able to do that by being a guide, prepared, having agendas, and then being organized about the implementation of all of these factors together. So it works like a charm. It works all the time. So do that. And then the final tactic that I think is really interesting and often overlooked in sales is understanding targeting. If you can understand a client's target or their goal, you can see the much larger picture. And one of the things I see all the time is that customers are way too narrow in their approach. They think their client or their customer is only this one little thing. Well, the reality is like, your customers are humans. They're not data points, right? And by this, we mean they're multifaceted. They do more than one thing. They don't only do this one little tiny thing that you're trying to reach them for. They do a lot of things. And the example I like to share with, I won't name a client, but you can probably figure it out, is would you ever think that a toothpaste company, it was a real story, guys, I really had this conversation, a toothpaste company told me that their customers, health and wellness only. We only targeted health and wellness. Well, you can imagine how fun it was for me to remind them that their target only needed a mouth. Like you don't have to overthink this, right? And once they realized, like, oh yeah, well, now the opportunity was much larger, right? I had way more to sell them and a lot more to help them sort through and navigate, be the guide, and help them see their larger objectives. And fun story along this line, we ended up identifying a target, a gaming target, which was a super elusive target to them. They hadn't figured out how to reach them, and we ended up reaching them and figuring that out for them. So don't underestimate targeting and getting them to see the larger picture. So I know we went through this fairly quickly, but these are really the 5 things that you need to do to close a sale, right? You have to guide, you have to be prepared, you have to actively listen, organize, please organize, and understanding targeting. And if you do all of these things and you're delightful, I assure you, you will see some success. So we put together for you a list of additional resources, sales resources specifically, if you want to go deeper on these topics. We recommend you do. There are 3 books here that I really like. The first one is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He's a former FBI hostage negotiator. I have read this book a number of times, especially when I was dealing with a very difficult boss, and I had to go into challenging conversations with clients. It is massively helpful. I suggest it strongly. It's very practical and tactical and advice. Difficult conversations, the same, like there's some great advice in there. And then Creativity is a wonderful book by Ed Catmull, who was the co-founder or CEO, excuse me, of Pixar. And if you think of what Pixar is, right, they're selling these beautiful narratives, these incredible stories, but they couldn't do that until they got out of their own way. So it's a brilliant read on how Pixar, this beloved company, overcame their leadership sales challenges specifically so that they can create fabulous movies. So I recommend reading all of these books. When you're done reading them, read them again, and then look back on your notes. But if there's only one book, honestly, that you have the time for, it's Never Split the Difference. Like just keep that on a rotation. And then finally, we love, you can probably tell already, like Nick and I absolutely love helping businesses, especially small businesses, figure out their voice, figure out how to sell, and then really grow their business, right? So that you're not just an idea, you actually have a company. So if you like what you heard and you want to do a little bit more digging, we are offering a free 20-minute consultation. And if you'd like to take us up on it, just send us an email to hello@unicornroar and include audit in the subject line. So with that, I think we have a few minutes for a live Q&A. If you'd like to offer up any questions, we will take them up on the spot. Sorry, Helena, it looks like you were going to jump in.
No, I just want to listen in, and everyone put your questions in the chat. This is the time to ask. So you know what, I'll start it off. You know what, I find that when you are getting you're in front of the person, can we backtrack? Is it a phone, can you talk about the phone call, or is there an email that you should be doing first or complimenting that? Someone asked, how do we apply this to our product-based businesses? That's a good question.
Nick, do you want to take that or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the rules still kind of apply, right? First you have to figure out how to describe your product in a way that sells it. Really kind of blunt enough, but all of those steps are really, they hold true regardless of what you're doing, right? They need to understand and see themselves with your product. And in order to do that, like Bianca said, you want a guide, you want to hear what they need, you want to create that need if they don't think they need it, right? Like you want to identify the place in their life that your product fits, and then convince them that they can't live without it.
Right. And I would recommend they're slowing down a little bit, right? So a lot of this means you have to slow down and think of your solution through the eyes of your customer. So I think sometimes people get so stuck on thinking of their solution as the solution and the only solution. And like, that's fabulous. But if the customer doesn't see themselves in the solution, and if you don't hold their hand to get there, then you've got nothing. So that means slowing down and helping them understand your product through the context of their needs. So, and when you do that, right, sometimes when you slow down, you will move 10x faster than you ever imagined because you've got that foundation in place. So it's all about building the foundation in place. Don't worry about steps 2 and 3. They don't matter if you don't get step 1 right. So get step 1 right.
How would you suggest this type of approach for mental health services?
Ooh.
The thinker. I mean, I think that mental health services does this intrinsically, right? Like, at least in my experience with mental health services, like they are guides. They don't tell you what to do. They don't tell you, go take these 5 steps to fix your life type of deal. So I think it is. It's creating trust. It's creating a safe place for people to come in and to talk or whatever you're doing, if it's over the internet or whatever. You're still doing a lot of those same things, and you're really just trying to set up an initial relationship where people feel comfortable enough to go with you as their mental health care provider.
I think, Nick, what you were saying, and Bianca, we talk about, we've had a webinar on mental health in the workforce and how it should be part of an everyday conversation. And people were talking about whether you are an employee or the employer, about listening. And you talk about that in one of the steps. The most important thing is listening. So I'm just piggybacking on exactly what you said.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I cannot underestimate slowing down and listening. Literally, your customers will tell you everything. They are dying to tell someone and to help solve their problem. Remember, by the time they've come to you, they have a need. They're looking for a solution, and they may have been looking for a very long time, right? The only thing separating them from you and from buying you, preventing them from buying you, is establishing that trust, is believing that you are going to be a partner that's with them every step of the way, right? There's a lot of choice out there. Let's face it, there's a lot of us. And if you don't show them that you are committed in a real partnership, they'll do one of 2 things: nothing, so nobody gets a sale and their problems continue, or they'll keep searching until they find someone, right? So like, you have to help them guide. They're right there. They want to believe in you and share in solving the problem with you.
What is your view on channels such as email, phone, paid media as it pertains to sales? And is one more preferable than the others in 2024?
Oh, Nick, that's your wheelhouse.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess more preferable on which side. I think honestly for sales, the best you can do is to get somebody face to face, whether that's, a video call or not. I think those the channels that you listed are mechanisms to set that up, right? So I think that it's just getting that initial face to face. Now how you get that, I think it can be any of those things. I think paid media Honestly, it's probably a little soon for paid media if you're sort of working on like your initial sales pitch and all of that, because you want to make sure it sounds right and really refine it before you go doubling down and investing a lot of money on paid, because it can go really quick, honestly. So yeah, I would say email, phone, then paid, or sorry, phone, email, and then paid media as far as like lead generation goes. But what you're really looking to do is set up that one-to-one.
So you guys can, you know what, as the questions come in, and Bianca and Nick, I don't want to, you know, you can talk more, you know, for the last, you know, 4 minutes. But what I find, you know, from the chamber, and I talk to small businesses and I talk to Sheila about this all the time. When you're, you know what, when you're on the phone, it's communication. Watch your communication, watch how you speak, because you know, you have to know that you're not speaking to a friend.
Mhm.
And when it comes in, and what I find is in an email, put your contact information in an email. If Bianca and Nick, this drives me nuts. You know what? They email me and they're asking a question. And I'm like, you know what? I want to pick up the phone. I am a phone person. I don't want to sit there and have 5 minutes typing something out when I can pick up the phone, make it really quick. And then they don't have their telephone number. So
Yep.
maybe you guys can, you know, for, you know, I'm just watching the chat because I want to make sure, but if you guys can touch on that, I don't know.
Yeah, that's sort of marketing principle 101, is be easy to buy, right? Like that's why search works, right? You're right at the top, paid search rather, and SEO. You're right at the top, so you're easy to buy. You're very available. People are going to click on you. It's the same thing for contact. You want to make things super, super easy for the recipient, and you want to do things their way, right? Like you're giving a little bit in that sense. And it, like we said, that HubSpot list, it's not wrong. Like adaptable was on there. You want to be adaptable. There's just, you know, a little bit more to it than that.
Two questions. In case someone asks, any tips for writing a mission statement for my small business? I am a video editing service for entertainment and advertising companies. And we still have one more question.
Sure. So for the mission statement, I would recommend you send us an email to hello at, because that's a much larger personal conversation, but we do have tips. The first there would be, just to answer the question, think about what you're really offering and be clear, like be super, super clear so that it's not a vague statement that anybody can own, or it's like, all right, well, everybody kind of says that. Like, be clear about what you bring to the table and make it a little bit differentiated if possible. But really send us an email. We need to know a little bit more about what you actually do to help you guide there. But I'll tell you, the mission statement when Nick and I were doing this for ourselves, it didn't happen overnight. I mean, that was an evolution. It took us iterating and iterating probably for about 3, 4, 5 weeks until we landed on the mission statement. So it's not something that necessarily lands on day one. It's something you work toward. I
We
see
have
the
one
next.
more, we have one great question. And then you'll close it out. How do we say no to a prospective client?
Anka
Did
loves
you see
this.
that?
I love this question.
Yeah, this is where she
You
shines.
can you can imagine, like when you work with you saw the brands that we have that we have experience working with. Saying no to these guys, like, can be a big challenge, right? The easiest way to say no is to do all of the things we shared with you. Be a guide, be prepared, listen, organize, and understand the targeting, right? Because what you're doing is you're shaping a point of view. You're not, they will realize that, like, oh, this idea is not the best, because you've given them the larger context and nuance to make the decision. So you're guiding them to a no. You're not even saying no. You're kind of just making it obvious that, like, oh yeah, you know, we should really tweak this and fix that. So I remember it's a huge consumer packaged goods client of mine once said, you say no to us a lot. And yet we're like, we do all this business and we do. I'm like, yeah, because you need to get to the realization on your own, right? That there's a better way to do it. And it's my job as a guide and a good partner to get you there.
And that's
So
where like, real partnerships are formed too, right? Like you're not just selling something to sell it. You're actually making strategic recommendations versus like you know, here's my stuff, buy it.
Which
Yes.
is such a good point to close on. Nick and Bianca, thank you so much for this information. They put their information in the chat for an email, so you can follow up with them. And then also, if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me and I'll forward your questions to them. Next, and I so greatly appreciate the information that you provided. It was unbelievable. Good information on how to grow your business for 2024. Next, we have Sheila from Catalyst for Small Business. She's going to take over on her perspective on how to grow your business, other facets of marketing and branding. So Sheila, I think you have control for and start putting questions in the chat as Sheila goes on. She is right there.
Here we
Sheila,
go.
take it
Thank
away.
you, thank you, thank you. I love everything that they said, especially the golden retriever, because so many people hire people because they're nice. Nice doesn't get it. And so it's interesting. And the last question I loved was you could create a law, basically a column to say for the health insurance, the law of intended consequences and the law of unintended consequences, so that because people don't see beyond making the decision. So anyway, thank you, Bianca and Nick. So I'm going to look at this from a marketing standpoint and give you just some tips on almost like a stockbroker or financial planner, what I'm doing with my clients this year. So I want to share with you what I see going forward. So number one, this is a little bit about me. I owned a small business and people came to me that I did gift baskets. I built it to like 10 to 15,000 baskets a year. And people came to me and said, we like your brains better than your baskets. Can you help us do it? So I come from a perspective of basically being a business owner that does marketing because I had to make rent. I had 15 employees. So I had to make strategic marketing decisions based on that. And I made a ton of mistakes. I'm actually thinking about doing a webinar this year on like failure.com, huge marketing mistakes. But that's kind of my background. But I also have a banking background. So it allowed me to look at clients' bottom lines. And that's kind of what I did. That's how I measure my success, is what's going to be in their bottom lines. Small business owners have thinner margins, have greater expenses. They're more susceptible to the economy and just the ups and downs of the economy. The good news is we will not have a recession this year. No one has a recession in an election year, especially when it's a presidential campaign. So you've got a soft landing this year. So this is a good time to kind of like go back to the beginning and basically build up and bulk up your business. So here's my pivot. My word of the year in honor of friends in New York City is pivot. You've got to look at where your marketing is and how you can pivot exactly what you're doing. So let's first of all, look at your marketing from 3 perspectives. I love this picture because it's a prism. And what happens is you're looking at your business through your eyes. You're selling features and benefits. Well, the client needs to know, how does that apply to them? Basically internalize how your client thinks. So think about it from your client's view. The second thing is from your competitor's view, because one of the things you need to focus on is your differentiation. And when I ask people why I should buy from you, again, it's that golden retriever response. We give great service. We care about our clients. We give you our cell phone number. I mean, literally, people say this with a straight face. And so you think you've got to look at and say, how do you differentiate yourself? But you've also got to look at the worldview. What's going on that's going to impact your daily business? Think about, the impact of COVID, thinking about like 9/11, that impacted that. So look at your business from 3 different perspectives instead of just your world. So I want to focus on fundamentals. January, the first quarter is great. 12-week year. One of the things that they focus on, there's a book, 12-week year. They find that if you compress the time, you can get greater focus and greater results. And so, and then focus on periodization, meaning look at a marketing skill and spend 4 to 6 weeks honing that skill. It could be outside sales calls. It could be networking. It could be social media. One of the Olympic athletes, They totally believe in this. If you talk to any swimmer, they're going to focus 6 weeks on kicking. They're going to 6 weeks on breathing, 6 weeks on stroke, on their stroke. That's what the coaches tell them to do. And then WAMs are weekly accountability meetings. 8 out of every 10 small businesses have 1 employee, 1 to 2 employees. Find a business buddy, find someone in your tribe that you can have weekly accountability sales meetings just to level set what you're going through, because owning your own business, it's the loneliest job in the world. Second of all, pivot 2024, okay? What works? Stand back with a clean slate. What works? What doesn't? Who works and who doesn't? One of the things you can talk about is your worst customer for the year. What were those traits? Your best customer. Who is your best customer? Considering just control, alternate, delete. Jimmy Carter, bless his soul, he came up in Georgia, a zero-based budgeting. He basically required everybody to start from the ground zero and build it up. And build up what their budget was. Was it valuable? Did it drive sales? Did it drive results? Did it achieve your goals? That's a great way just to step back, especially the first 2 weeks of the year. You know, brainstorm with your team, your new business buddy, get a second set of eyes and ears on your business. Talk with your clients just to say, get their opinion. I mean, that will help you basically hone your message and allow you to be more relatable and authentic with your client. Okay, this is small business thinking. I love this. One of the things that I see with lots of small business owners, you go, what's in your wallet? Okay, that's how they run their business, by the seat of their pants, and it's in their back. You know, I talk to them and I go, okay, what's in your marketing budget? I don't have a marketing budget, which means they haven't mentally made the decision to invest in themselves. And I always tell them I'm a former banker. And I say, so anything you spend with in marketing is an extraordinary expense because you didn't budget for it. So think about a smart business person thinks about their marketing, thinks about their costs, so that they basically create a plan for the year, at least for the first quarter. This data is amazing. 15 to 60% are more likely to succeed with a business plan, but only 33% of small business owners have one. Now, how much should you be spending on marketing? Again, this is an investment in your future. Average is 2 to 5%, but the SBA says 7 to 8% of your revenue. So think about that. So when you talk to somebody and you meet with them and they want to sell you something, does that fit in your budget? Does that fit in, you know, have I mentally made the decision to invest in my company? I love it. Plans are nothing. Planning is everything. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Okay, so this is what I do, is thinking before inking. You know, you've got so many people that made bad marketing decisions, and a lot of it is because they didn't think about it. So I work with my clients, and I've got tons of worksheets that we can go through. And I'm like Bianca and Nick, I'm happy to offer an hour, and I'll send you the worksheets to basically walk through the 3 concepts. What's your why? I love Clint Babcock with Sandler Sales. People don't see you as better until they see you as different. You've got to have that differentiation. Number 2 is targeting. Bianca and Nick hit on that. A lot of people don't understand who their target market is. So they're marketing to all the world instead of people that have mouths. I mean, you know, it's a different, doing that niche creates the conversation because you understand who your target market is. And then how do you tell them? The average sale takes 5 to 12 contacts. So staying in touch with your client on a consistent basis, and that's not sending an email every month. That's not texting, how are you doing? There's lots of ways that you can stay in front of your client, and I call them non-sales sales calls, just to stay top of mind. And I love Jamie Dimon. This is execution versus strategy. I'd rather have a first-rate execution and second-rate strategy than anytime a brilliant idea that's not executed. So that's the important thing. You can have a great idea. If it's sitting on your computer, it's not going to help your sales. And I love it. Okay, I love this. Cut through whatever, or cut through the noise. Okay, there are so many different channels. Okay, but this is what's going to happen this year. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a busy year. The state of New York is having 4 elections this year. Okay, you combine that with early voting. So you back up George Santos election, you back up municipal primaries and presidential primary, municipal elections. Then in June, you have the federal primaries, which they're all being primaried. And then you have the general, you back that up, you've almost got a 12-month election cycle. What that means is mailboxes are going to be full. The airwaves are going to be full. And what happens is with political candidates, they pay spot rate. They pay full ride. They don't get any discounts. They don't get any volume pricing. They don't. So you're going to have your major media people going, we don't need, 1-800-EMPIRE, because we can do that in 2025. We're going to make a ton of money because we're going to be charging full rate for this. So you've got the typical noise, and then you've got the election noise. The last primary, I was in Florida taking care of my mother. She got between 10 and 15 direct mail pieces a day. And most people are getting their mail and walking straight to the recycling bin. It never gets in the house. So please understand, you've got a really noisy world. So how do you cut through that? Okay, I love cause marketing. Basically, it is you partner with a not-for-profit for mutual profits. The data is phenomenal. It's a great way to expand your brand, to align with a local community cause. You get other people singing your story and telling your story about why buy from you, because it's a clear differentiator. So I always put every single one of my clients, find a cause that you believe in. I've got a candidate that's running for city council in Little Clearwater, Florida. And every other week we're doing a cause event, because guess what? 79% have election fatigue. They don't want to hear this guy running for office. They want to see him in the community. The day after New Year's, we delivered poinsettias to all the local senior citizen centers, because we had offices that had tons of decorations and they didn't know what to do with them. We got them out. It was a way to show the guy behind the brand. And that's what, especially in small business, who are you behind your brand? Okay, and then networking. COVID is in the background. You've got your network is your net worth. I love it. There was a guy with the TED Radio Hour. He did this thing and he looked at artwork from Cleveland and New York. Similar pieces of art. One was worth $10,000 and one was worth $1 million. And the only differentiation was they went to the artist and they tracked their network. So the New York artist was going to galleries in New York that pulled a higher price, where this Cleveland guy stayed in Cleveland and he was getting a great price, but the network was the differentiator between $10,000 and $1 million piece of artwork. And what they learned is, guess what? Do you play well with others? Are you a team player? Are you helping other people? And I love it, but they say your performance is about you, your success is about us. How do people value you? And I love it. You are the sum of 5 people you hang around with. Is your networking not working? And have you invested in your own continuing education? This week, I'm joining the New York chapter of the National Speakers Association. I need help speaking. So I thought, why not go to the biggest and best and brightest and be the low man on the totem pole and the little kid in the corner learning? So I went, I want to be a better speaker. So I'm investing in myself. And it's like 3 times the value of it costs about 3 times as much as a chamber membership. So just to give you maybe 4 times as much as a chamber membership. So again, sucking it up, put it in my budget and said, I'm mentally investing in myself. Okay. So look at new products, new service. Can you adapt your business model? I've got you'll love this, a diner in downtown Clearwater. They're the only thing open at 7 o'clock. I said, what are you doing at gyms? Why don't you come up with a gym menu so people could come and pick it up? Because Clearwater's is kind of a sleepy town. We're adapting her business model. Then she mentioned she was a diner, but she also did catering for groups. And I said, what's your sweet spot? So we're pulling a list of all of the people within a mile that have businesses that have 20 to 25 employees. And we're getting in front of those people. So we're adapting our business model because she's got a bricks and mortar, but she's got to get more revenue out of it. And she's changing her hours. She's changing her weekends and her delivery to accommodate. There's a 6 o'clock yoga class. Basically, she wants to make sure that they have coffee, Greek yogurt, and smoothies when they finish their yoga class at 6:45, even though she only opens at 7. So we've adapted to what her market is driving. So Pivot 2024, here's what we're going to do. Number 1, focus on fundamentals. Look at your year in rear view. What was good last year? What was bad? What do you want to change? Start with a quarterly plan. Commit to a marketing budget. Make that investment in your company and yourself. And then find your tribe. Look, and if you don't like your tribe, go find someone else. Number 2, strategy versus execution. It's a 3-step process. One of the things that I see is I want consistent client-centered content. Most people are going, look at what we do. Look at, no, I don't want to know what you do. I want to know how it improves my life. Does it enhance my life? Does it enhance my revenue? Does it reduce my expenses? Speak in their language, not in your language. And number 3, cut the noise. Authenticity. Say something we're saying. If you don't, it's just noise and you're part of the problem. Improve your net worth. Again, find a cause that you believe in. Find a cause that your customers believe in. You could be calling them saying, hey, Happy New Year. What's a cause you believe in? Maybe I can support that this year. Adapt your product or services. Integrate more video. Everyone, I was reading what, the people in Forbes and the people in the Wall Street Journal, all the big boys are saying cause marketing is a big thing. AI is a big thing, but more video is a big thing as well. And the other thing is create your own experiences. When I was in New York in November, I was up for a week. I created a pop-up networking thing. And what happened was it was fabulous because we had some really good conversations. Just, hey, come, I'm buying coffee and donuts. And it was a great conversation. But from another standpoint, from that 5 to 12 contacts, I sent out a constant contact. I had a 56% open rate. So people want to network. They want to get out and they're looking for a tribe. So you could be that critical person that, creates that tribe. And if you can't find one, create your own. And that's it. So I want to thank you. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to respond. The second thing is I put my name and contact information in the chat. I'm happy to send worksheets. And once you fill them out, we can regroup and kind of beat up some ideas on what you're doing for 2024.
Amazing information. This was so informative, especially for small businesses. So we so appreciate that. Everyone's saying quite an informative session. We talk about, put your questions in the chat. I'll monitor it as we, we'll say no to themselves and yes to us. Put your questions in the chat for that. But what is you know what? I wrote down huge marketing mistakes. What is I was taking notes. What's the number one, or give 2 huge marketing mistakes off the bat that a business should be aware of?
Okay, for me, I'm just gonna say what I did when I had my gift basket business. When you saw the first slide, I was a legend in my own mind. I had all this PR and advertising. I mean, paid. I mean, it's called. I was like on the front cover of a magazine, and during December, which is a big gift giving month, I was in. And so I assumed that, oh my gosh, Katie barred the door. Everyone knows about me. No, really bad. So I automatically assumed that this one thing was going to drive my sales. So I didn't have, it's like a symphony. You don't have Yo-Yo Ma playing for 3 hours or 2 hours. You've got to have a symphony so that if one thing doesn't work, you've still got a program. And I think that's one of the things I made huge mistakes on. And I made a lot of mistakes in paid advertising because I didn't know my target market. I spent $5,000 one Christmas with a local business journal. Okay, because they had a circulation of like, 80,000 people. I didn't realize that some of the major companies had one subscription and it circulated. Okay, so and so everybody saw my Christmas ads in January or March. And the other thing is they were only looking at who was changing jobs. And the second thing was, with my gift basket business, my gatekeeper was my administrative assistant or my HR person, because they were sending gift baskets instead of flowers, or the sales assistant. That's who my gatekeeper was. I thought I was networking with the vice president of sales. He could have cared less. Had I realized who my decision maker was, she's the one that was in charge of the budget. So I didn't know my target market. And I assumed that one channel was going to be it. I mean, the reason I went into marketing is I didn't want people to make the same mistakes I did.
So, good information. Sheila, they're asking for you to put your contact information in the chat.
It's at the top. It's at the very top.
Go to, let me see. Also, what's interesting is, when, I'm bringing the chamber in and the benefits. Someone just said, I'm a solo practitioner, mental health therapist. I need to expand marketing. Do you have any specific ideas in branding and marketing practice? You know what, Paris, reach out to, if Sheila, you want to give 1 or 2 points for everyone, but Paris, definitely reach out to Sheila and do a one-on-one for that.
I think one of the things that's going to be important is, and I'm a data nerd, is Paris, position yourself as an expert. Offer people, expertise. I mean, depending on who your target market is, you could be posting on LinkedIn. You could be posting on, again, quality stuff to talk about how your clients are seeing the world and how they can process that. I think that's going to be really, really important. The other thing is more and more, business is getting smart to this. They're realizing that productivity, turnover, corporate culture is all impacted by mental health services. And there's a ton of data on that you could be referring to, because people are wanting to keep their people and they want to support their people. We're looking at it, especially with, we've got, a low unemployment rate and we got a gazillion jobs. So we need to keep the people we've got. Well, let's nurture them. And so I think I would focus in, I'd go on into your expertise, share your expertise, depending on your market, consider doing some pro bono speaking engagements, in your niche. I mean, that, if it's teenagers, go to churches and offer to do stuff, because people are starved for not data. They're starved for information and relationships.
Really good point. And also, you know what? Reach out to news medias and local magazines. They're always looking for content. They're always looking for people to quote. And I know that because the chamber, they called the chamber and they're like, we don't want to speak to the chamber. We want to speak to the small businesses in this field that have an opinion. So definitely, put that information out there. Also, Sheila, we talk about this and I'm bringing the chamber into it. You know what, when we have the webinars and the presentations on how to get government contracts is not for, it is for major corporations, but they want the small businesses to collaborate with people in your own lane. So, you know what? It's really important that you align yourself, and both Sheila, Nick, and Bianca talked about that. Your community, people that you associate with. Also, don't disregard people that are in your same lane, because they could collaborate. And when you have also talked about turning down business, saying no, you know what? You can recommend. There's so many times that I've talked to people and say, you know what, I can't help you, but I have a certain business that can help you. And if that aligns really well, that takes you so far because of your credibility, you're honest, and you're giving your client more information, and it really, aligns you with a good community. So,
well, the other thing is, I think the bigger businesses or the mid-sized businesses, they have got, more expenses. They've got a staff or whatever. And so they're not going to go after a client. I picked up a lot of business in Charlotte, North Carolina from ad agencies because their minimum spend was like $1 million a month. So their target market was somebody that was going to spend $12 million a year. And somebody come in and go, I got a budget of 100,000. They don't want to say no because they don't want to lose that relationship. And so I would say, their leftovers is my filet, because they didn't want to do it because their business model didn't allow for them to take it on. It was going to be a loss leader for them. And people aren't in the business for loss leaders. Costco is maybe, but we're not.
What you hit on, and I got an email. Someone just emailed me for this webinar. I don't know why they're not on the chat. They sat there and they said, what happens if they don't have like a budget for either advertising, marketing? They are a small business. What is the number one thing that you can recommend for them to do?
First of all, have them look at get a good sense of their financials, because if they don't, again, sales is what you do today. And Nick and Bianca did a great job of nurturing that sales process. Marketing is what you do tomorrow. And I think that's the thing, is they've got to mentally say, what's their business model? Are they pricing incorrectly? Because again, when the SBA, I would say you spend all your money on marketing. No, I'm joking. If you'll notice, most of the stuff that I suggested doesn't cost a lot of money. The most expensive thing that you can do is paid advertising. So what I look at is how can we, it's like a football game. How do you win the game? You can kick, you can pass, you can punt, there's lots of ways that you can do it. A lot of it is not having the most expensive quarterback. And so I think mentally, look at your budget, look at your financial statement and say, can I carve out 5% of my revenue and invest in the future? Because otherwise you're going to be running your business by the seat of your pants, and that's exhausting. You can't run your business by your bank account. You've got to look at your budget, and then you can start setting goals. And quite frankly, you say, okay, I'm going to spend $250 a month on marketing. Okay. All of a sudden you go, okay, how do I get that extra 250? Oh, I've got to make sales calls. Oh, I've got to take what Nick and Bianca said and start being more proactive and get that one-on-one, which I totally agree with. Bots don't buy. And there's so many bots on the internet right now. It's the face-to-face relationship, and it's the referrals. I mean, look at the big brands Nick and Bianca did. I'm sure it was their tribe was with that business. They all networked together. I love the shaking heads. Thank you.
No, it's such great information. And what's really interesting? We when we do our online networking Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, we have in person, but we're consistent on that. I always ask the last question is, how are you getting your business these days, so people can share that information? Everyone is going back to picking up the phone and that in-person communication. Whereas, a year ago, it was, people are still doing social media, but they really turned to, listening and talking and finding out what the client is looking for, or what they can do to get that for the client. Someone just said, hold on, after multiple reviews of this, I will ask all of you to join. Oh, okay, that's that, I believe. Okay, that's it. Someone just asked, if they, whoever the notary public, they want to work with lawyers and attorneys, any advice for them? You know what? Just reach out to the Bar Association. That's what I would do.
Yeah, there's a lot of solopreneur things. The other thing is, Nielsen did a study on what the most effective form of marketing advertising is. It's word of mouth. I mean, and it's like 89% of people trust direct referrals. And so many people go, oh, I've got to be on the internet. Oh, I've got to send out news. No, pick up the phone, go meet people, go help people achieve their goals, and you will do that. You'll achieve yours.
Right. And let me piggyback on that. It's 11 o'clock. We talk about that all the time. You know what? If you have a client, ask them if they have any referrals for you. and open it up. Just sit there and say, hey, can you recommend me? Can you help me, get the word out? It's always nice, especially if you have a good, Sheila talked about, the neighborhood in your community and your tribe. I like the word tribe. Nick and Bianca talked about that too. Create your own tribe. And that will lead me into, we are a great tribe, the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. So we are your tribe. We are your marketing tribe. Join us if you're not a member of the chamber this coming Tuesday, online networking, Tuesday at 10 o'clock. The following week, we have an in-person power networking lunch, and we have a lot going on for 2024. Take a look at our website. People have been asking if they can have the PowerPoint presentation. If you want, Sheila, Bianca, and Nick, send it to me and I can send it out. This is going to be on Chamber TV this afternoon or this evening. Just give us time to upload it. If you have any questions, you have their information for them, for you to reach out to them. If you can't, send it to me and I will forward it to them. Thank you everyone for joining us. What a great way to, grow your business and market yourself for 2024. Everyone have a great, it's one day away from the weekend, and be well, be safe, and market yourself, and just pass it on to the next person.
Pivot.
That's exactly it. Pivot, there we go. Thank you again for this. This was great. I love
Thanks.
this.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.